Hey, what's happening? It's Tom, Coach Tom from TL Performance, and I'm here for another podcast on YouTube. And I wanted to talk about strength training and other types of training and supplements. And what are some of my go-tos for when you're training regularly? Like, what are the things that I've found that have worked? So, just to give you a little bit of history. I played sports my entire life. I started playing soccer when I was about 5 years old, and I played t-ball and all that kind of thing. And I played soccer and baseball predominantly up until I was a teenager. I also played a little bit of basketball. I've played a little bit of hockey. I've been a golfer, rock climb. I basically like to play sports, like to be outside, like to play games. And then when I was about 17 years old, I got into weight training. I was kind of skinny. I was about 150 pounds when I think I was in 10th grade, high school. And my best friend and I, we started picking up the weights. My dad's leftover weight system, all the like 20-year-old weights that were in the basement. We'd go down there and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And then we started reading all the bodybuilding magazines, started getting into it, and I really liked it. And so I pretty much picked up any magazine, any book I could find to read everything possible so I could find out, how do I put on some muscle? How do I get bigger? What's the best way to train? And it was just loved it, absolutely loved it. And then when I came to California, I was working, some jobs in entertainment, and I just couldn't wait to go to the gym. And that everything I did in my life, I planned on my meals. I was really regimented on taking vitamins, drinking water. And by the time I started training, from when I was 17 until I was about 25, I had put on 40 to 45 pounds of muscle. And I've experimented a lot to find out the best way. And that's what you got to do with your training too. Like, I knew that I needed to train a certain amount I would alter my training frequency and what I did with each workout. And I would use what happened, like the result of whether I got bigger and stronger, as how to tweak it so that I could improve. And also taking different vitamins. When I was a kid, I had to take Flintstone vitamins and fluoride, which I don't advocate that. Back then, that was something my dentist prescribed as a little boy. So I had to eat my vegetables and all those things, which I hated doing. But thankfully, my parents built those habits in me so that when I was older, I've been taking vitamins my entire life. And as I started wanting to build muscle, I experimented with all kinds of different protein supplements. Like, I've probably eaten just about every protein bar out there. I've tried a whole ton of different protein powders. Let's see, all kinds of different supplements that like magnesium, different amino acids you can get, like BCAAs or L-carnitine, all kinds of stuff. So there's just some simple basic things that I've learned. If you're someone that is active, even if it's not for gaining muscle or getting bigger, like if strength training isn't your primary focus, but you train, you have to eat more. So the standardized 2,000 calorie diet is just that. It's a generalization. It's standardized to try to make things simple for the public, because lots of people don't want to take the effort and put the effort into learning how much they need to eat, what they need to eat, because it's a trial and error and the result isn't instantaneous. It's a lot of work. It can be frustrating at times, because you go do your exercise, whether it be, you're out riding a bike, you're hiking, lifting weights, and you experience setbacks sometimes when you train too hard, train too often, or don't recover properly. And there's just a lot of people that aren't going to do it. So the 2,000 calorie diet is a simplified way of trying to tell everyone, at least if you do this, your chances of being generally okay are high. It's not optimal, but we can bet that the general public there's going to be less serious health risks if we do that. But let's say you're like a dude that's 6'5" and 250 pounds, 2,000 calories probably isn't going to cut it. Or let's say you're a woman who is 5 feet tall and 100 pounds, might be the 2,000 calories is more than you need. So you're going to have to play around with that. And then when you're really active, you're going to need maybe even more than you would need if you weren't active, based on your size, gender, genetics, all those kinds of things. And let's face it, all those factors are going to influence how your body reacts, and your history, what you've done, any illnesses you might have had, all those kinds of things. You have to tailor it towards that. So you're going to eat more. And then one of the things you got to eat more is protein. And the reason you got to do that is because when you go to the store, you buy food, it is extremely easy to get carbs and fat. You don't have to look far. You can grab anything off the shelf and you're going to get it. And chances are you can go above and beyond what your nutritional requirements would be for those macronutrients. And the macronutrients are fats, carbs, and proteins. Fats and carbs are in everything. So the trick with those is to be more mindful in order to make sure you get the ones you want, the types, and make sure that you don't go overboard with it. And just do it by reading labels and then paying attention to how your body reacts. But protein, if you don't actively look for it, it's not coming your way. It's minimally coming your way. Let's put it that way. You probably won't get zero, but you have to plan around it, and you have to know how much you want to get and where you want to get it from. And you're going to make those decisions based on your values around nutrition. So your values are like your beliefs and the way you live your life, your decision making, what you think is right and wrong. I'm not saying that there is a right and wrong, but there are lots of people that believe that the healthiest and best way is to be a meat eater. There's others that believe the healthiest and best way is to be a vegetarian. I'm not saying either one is right or wrong. There have been healthy people, successful athletes of both. So you have to determine what your values around those two decisions are, and then learn about what are your values around how to eat and everything else. And you can really hone that in, but you got to, no matter whether you're plant-based or a carnivore, carnivores can still be plant-based because it doesn't mean they're only eating meat. It's not one or the other, eat both. And maybe I'm betraying my values there. Once you do that, you've got to be actively researching the sources, where your food comes from, what's in it, and why you want that food. And one of the risks with being a vegetarian is unlike when you eat an animal product, you're going to get fat with your meat, but not carbs, unless the meat has been drenched in sauces or something like that. With plant-based stuff, you tend to get a lot more carbs, and you might get some fats too. So you got to factor those into your decisions. So protein, more protein, whatever your source. Multivitamin, really, really important. And the reason is really simple. When you're active and when you train, your nutrient requirements are higher. So you're going to eat more. But nobody eats perfectly. And there isn't one food, even though marketing likes to tell you that there are superfoods, that if you eat those, then you've covered everything. There isn't one food that gives you everything or does everything. Some are higher in other vitamins than others, and so forth. So, get a lot of vegetables, a variety of veggies. If you're a meat eater, if you're a vegetarian, same thing, get a variety, learn what's in everything, and take a multivitamin to top everything off, to give you the optimum levels, and to fill in any gaps that you might have missed in your training. Post-training. So what's one thing, let's go back to protein for a second, because we can talk about post-training. We can also talk about filling in the gaps during the day, because especially if you are someone like when I was younger and I wanted to gain weight, it was hard, I had to eat a lot. And sometimes that can be difficult. And a way to get extra protein on top of eating more is to use some kind of protein supplement, whether it be a protein powder or a protein bar. So the benefit of a protein powder is that it is liquid, and which means it will be digested really fast and into your bloodstream much quicker than solid food. This is why people who, bodybuilders and those that lift often prefer shakes, because after training, you want to jumpstart recovery as quick as you can. And a shake will give you that in a really short amount of time. Protein bars can be good because they can be more of a meal replacement sometimes, although there are shakes that have more in them, higher amounts of carbohydrates and things that can be used as a meal replacement, especially because let's face it, sometimes life gets in the way. If you have a job, you have a family, and you want to be super regimented, but you're not a professional athlete and you're not living to train. So you're doing the best you can in the situation that you have. And so a shaker or bar can be a good way to not miss your meal timing when you're on the go. And sometimes a bar can be a little bit more filling or easier because you don't have to mix it up, you don't have to shake it around, and all you have to do is take it with you and eat it. So you can have those. So one of the important components, I'm sidetracking a little, when you do get protein supplements, is fiber content. Fiber is really important, and it's very absent in the American diet. Okay, so we went over multivitamin, protein powder. Some people use, when they're going to train, this is kind of your pre-workout. Some people will use energy drinks or caffeine or a pre-workout, which is basically just a little bit of a stimulant. It kind of gets you going because when you are training, you want to get your nervous system excited. And that means that you are amped up. And for example, if you're lifting a lot of weight, you need to use as much of your muscle power as possible. And what lifters will do is use a warm-up set because, just walking around day to day, you don't need to use your maximum strength. But if you're going to lift something really heavy, you do. But sometimes you don't have that ability right off the bat. Whereas if you warm up and you gradually increase the load, you can get your nervous system amped up. And some people use a little bit of coffee or energy drinks and experiment with that a little bit. It's not something that I would recommend that you go over the top with, but it can help a little bit. And I certainly have suggestions, and I have a great product that I use, energy drink, that is a better form of, doesn't have the same sources of caffeine. It's more from tea leaves and things, and it can be helpful. And I can certainly hook you up if you reach out to me. And then, so some of the specific optimizers you lift, I find personally that I really like magnesium, and it's good. It's specifically good for muscle tissue. I find it to also be relaxing. That's a side benefit. So I don't take it before. It's something I take outside of training, either in the morning or in the afternoon. I also use a joint support supplement. So as much as it's fun to train and lift weights, it does put strain on the body. It gives us the benefit of getting stronger, of getting faster, but it also has the detriment of putting miles on the car. Let's put it that way. It's like driving your new car. When you get the new car, the more you drive, it's just not going to be functioning as well unless you take care of it. So joint support supplement isn't a direct performance enhancer, but it helps to keep you healthier. And when you do that, your performance increases. I use a lot of vitamin C, and vitamin C is inexpensive, and it helps with lowering inflammation, in my experience. But you can try for yourself. It's good for your immune system, and I just find it good in post recovery. Same thing for fish oil. It's it helps with lowering inflammation. It's good for joint health. Anytime you improve your overall health, you're going to improve your performance. And let me see if there's any other ones that I think that you could use for training. Those are the basics ones. But to close it out, let's just remember that the key to successful training is a well thought out training program before you go to optimizers. Too many people want to go right to these optimizers. They want to buy all the fancy trendy products that are supplements, and they want them to create the results. So they're looking towards the supplement, which you would put at the end as the one to create the change, and they're doing it with a shitty training program. And that's just not going to lead you down the path to success. There are some people that can still handle it and will end up okay, but I would argue that is more of a genetic response, or the fact that they haven't trained a lot, When you are newer to training, you can do pretty much anything and you'll get a little bit better. But as you get more advanced, you need to be more specific, you need to be more tuned in, you need to make smarter decisions. So get that ironed out first, and don't look to the product itself to solve all your problems. You use it once you get everything, your decision making, your planning, your training nailed, then you add those on top, and that's when you can really go above and beyond. So I hope this was helpful. Um, Making smart training decisions is the biggest thing. First and foremost, making smart decisions for your health. If you do those things, if you take care of yourself, you didn't even train, but you take really good care of your body, you'd be better off than making poor training decisions and just beating yourself up physically from all the crappy training. That might be hard to hear. Thanks for your time. Ask me and leave any comments or questions below, or send me an email, tom@tloperformanceoa.com. And I will see you next time.